There's an old saying that I've mentioned many times before: follow the money. It's a simple idea with radical implications. Money leaves a trail. It reveals who holds power, who influences decisions, and whose interests are truly being served. Nowhere is this truer than in government, where every dollar spent originates from taxpayers. Thus, when public funds are channeled towards gender ideology initiatives, the public has an absolute right, even a duty, to scrutinize these expenditures. This isn't about stifling debate or imposing a particular viewpoint. It's about not allowing a select group of people to spend your money on initiatives that are not consistent with our ideological and spiritual beliefs. Transparency is a cornerstone of any functioning democracy, yet there are government officials viciously fighting transparency. Why? If someone doesn't want the people to know where their money is going, then they are involved in something that they want to hide. It's very simple. We have become blind to how our own money is being used on funding projects that we might vehemently oppose or finding our values misrepresented. Understanding the funding behind these initiatives is not merely about dollars and cents. It's about holding those in power accountable. It's about demanding they justify their actions and demonstrate how these expenditures serve the public good. In an era of immense and growing distrust in institutions, transparency is not optional. It's essential. This video will discuss the Department of Government Efficiency and the people that are so aggressively trying to shut it down, spewing lies about people, and trying to divert your attention away from where your money went by pulling on your emotions. It's a typical tactic. Don't forget to share this video. Subscribe to the channel for honest and accurate information of Doge, corruptions, and disclosure. I can't get the news out quick enough, guys, so don't miss a thing. Unraveling the origins of funding for gender ideology initiatives proves a tangled web. Often these initiatives are tucked away within larger spending bills, obscured by bureaucratic jargon and vaguely worded line items. But the Department of Government Efficiency found over $68 billion of our money within these programs. Lots of programs. And the results are horrifying. If one is awake, it's easy to see. The culprits will do anything to stop this information from coming out. They are citing concerns about the security of the public's medical records, yet they never said a word about the December 8th, 2024 hack of the U.S. Treasury Department by a threat actor. Why didn't we know? So we must take everything these politicians say with a grain of salt, and when we catch them lying, we must never believe another word they say. While pinpointing the exact genesis of this funding is difficult, certain trends emerge. The early 2000s saw a surge in funding for programs promoting gender equality and diversity, often tied to international development goals. Let me give you a few examples of the DEI fluff money that went from one of the largest humanitarian aid agencies named USAID, which stands for the United States Agency for International Development, from the people. $2 million went to strengthen transgender-led organizations to deliver gender-affirming healthcare in Guatemala. $750,000 to alleviate the migrant garment workers' loneliness in India. $1.5 million to provide a gender-sensitive response to migration at the Venezuelan border. $4.3 million to a group to fund comprehensive health services for men having sex with other men in South Africa. $1.5 million to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion in Serbia. Workplaces by promoting economic empowerment and opportunity for LGBTQ+ people in Serbia. $770,000 to a group to deliver a live musical event to promote the U.S. and Irish shared values of diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. $1.5 million to fund strengthening community support structures to upscale LGBTQ advocacy in Jamaica. $28 million to facilitate the economic insertion of Venezuelan migrants and refugees in Peru into Ecuador. 17.5 million to fund voluntary medical male circumcision overseas, 150K to fund HIV prevention services, targeting men who have sex with men and transgenders, 50 million to fund condoms in Gaza, 47,000 on a transgender opera in Colombia, 32,000 for a transgender comic in Peru. The GSA has repealed 23 internal directives or policies related to DEI. This is just programs that we've been paying for trying to turn underprivileged countries gay or transgender. Ask yourself why. I've done a video on this before which YouTube refused to publish. So tell me why you think the US government under the Biden administration was funding programs to promote gender dysphoria and mutilating surgeries and damaging drugs regimens. We must question whether these initiatives truly reflect the priorities of the public that those Democratic and Rhino leaders purported to serve. But the DEI and transgender programs for people across the world by USAID was just the tip of the iceberg. USAID also funneled $27 million to Black Lives Matter through the Tides Foundation. They gave $68 million to Klaus Schwab's World Economic Forum, spent $2.4 million on cloud seeding. It's not clear if that is weather manipulation or chemtrails, but our taxes paid for it. In the past 48 hours, HHS canceled 62 contracts worth $182 million. These contracts were entirely for administrative expenses. None touched any healthcare programs. The terminated contracts did include a $168,000 contract for an Anthony Fauci exhibit at the NIH Museum. And just this week, Musk's team got into the Medicare and Medicaid files and have revealed that 6.5 million Americans are listed as over 112 years old in the Social Security records. Yet the oldest living American is only 115. In just one decade, 2008 to 2018, over $1 billion in Social Security payments went to dead people. Medicare lost $60 billion to fraud in a single year in 2020. The government is hemorrhaging billions while hardworking Americans struggle. If Musk and Doge are investigating Medicare's broken payment system, Social Security promises to be next with fake disability claims. The issue of government waste is hardly new. Taxpayers have long lamented the seemingly endless capacity of bureaucracies to mismanage funds, but nobody would ever do anything about it, and now we are learning why. The funding cuts being made by Doge go far beyond mere inefficiency. We all know in our hearts that something more insidious is at play, namely corruption. When we talk about corruption, we're not just talking about walking out of the office with supplies, though that certainly occurs. We're talking about a system where political favors are exchanged for campaign contributions, where lucrative contracts are awarded to cronies, and where taxpayer dollars are funneled towards projects that we have no business butting our noses into. Wasteful gender ideology funding does not even begin to scrape the surface of this corruption. Don't forget that the entire DEI initiative began after the death of George Floyd in 2020. The system has been the host for thousands of parasites for at least 4 decades. Imagine how many well-established slush funds exist to enrich politicians and their agendas with your money. There's an imminent need to scrutinize not just the amount of money being spent, but also where it's going and who's authorizing it. Are they truly holding transgender operas? Or are these programs a way to funnel money to themselves in some convoluted and obscured way? These are questions that we must ask ourselves, and when we find the answers, we must never let our guard down again to some smooth-talking bureaucrat who doesn't give a damn about us. And we must all ask ourselves, what don't they want us to see in an audit of the government records? In today's world, corruption entails a labyrinth of recipients to obscure who's really getting the benefit. One corruption case that I worked was fraud against multiple government payment systems. It was called Operation Gold Pill, and it was in South Florida. It involved a guy named Ezo. Last name doesn't matter, out of caution. Izzo put together a group that involved doctors that wrote prescriptions for patients for some of the most expensive drugs available, some thousands per month. Patients then filled them at pharmacies involved in the scheme. The patient would go out the door of the pharmacy and sell the prescriptions back to Izzo. Of course, they got a pittance of what the drug was worth. Then Izzo would go back into the pharmacy and sell the drugs back to the crooked pharmacist for a price significantly less than wholesale. Look at the billing. The doctors billed for unnecessary services and received a finder's fee from Izzo. The patients got paid for 6 different bottles of drugs every month and didn't need any of them. Many of the patients were fraudulently receiving benefits. Izzo made a profit on the drugs that he never paid for when he sold them to the pharmacy. The pharmacy bought the drugs back at a much cheaper price than what they were billing insurance, so they got paid inflated insurance reimbursements for the billing of the multiple prescriptions they filled. The drugs went round and round every month. Nobody ever needed or took them, and everybody made money. There was a book written about my department and some of the cases we worked called Dangerous Doses by Catherine Eben. I was interviewed and my name is mentioned as a source in the back, but most of it is the work of my amazing colleagues on the Miami team and their friends. They taught me a lot. Thank you, Cesar. I will never forget you and Columbo Gene. I'm sure he's continuing the party wherever he is. Thankfully, Elon Musk has assembled a team of little geniuses via the Department of Government Efficiency, or Doge, tasked with ensuring that taxpayer dollars are spent responsibly and effectively. Doge is conducting audits and the deep state puppets are going wild. You can see their fear. However, Doge's mandate is clear, to follow the money, wherever it may lead, and it seems to be leading to some pretty shifty places. In order to accomplish this monumental task, Elon hired 6 whiz kids who are some of the sharpest computer engineers around, and only one of them is old enough to rent a car. So naturally, people like Hillary Clinton came out to ridicule the analysts, and the left even doxed their personal information. First, let's realize that Elon Musk has higher government clearance than most of the politicians trying to destroy him, due to his involvement with SpaceX. Yet the media is like Chicken Little accusing these young professionals of stealing elderly people's Social Security money. Only the evil think of such things. The fact is that they are all highly accomplished. Luke Ferreter, 23 years old, used AI to decipher an ancient scroll from ancient Rome. This is what it takes when records are in code. It takes code breakers. The deep state has theirs, and we need ours to find the dirt. It's a different world, guys. The left doxed these 6 young men to try to stop them from completing their jobs. Edward Korestein, 19, is big balls, which the world is capitalizing on in a hilarious way. In case you don't know, this college student used the handle Big Balls on social media and had some inappropriate deleted posts that the left used to impugn him. So far, the left has been successful in having a judge rule that only 2 of them can inspect the Treasury records. It's not a big deal. We will still get the evidence. It will just take longer. However, a left-wing judge has ordered Doge to destroy all evidence that they have retrieved. Are you believing this? These are the types of stunts that the deep state is using to delay disclosure. Every step they try to throw out a roadblock, but nothing can stop what is coming, and they know it. For a bunch of kids that the left wants you to think are not capable, their presence is panicking Washington politicians. They are trying to beat Musk and his team to various government offices, trying to get in before they do. We saw what Hillary Clinton did when they were coming for her computers and devices. Why are these politicians so upset that they are going to government buildings daily in angry mobs trying to bully the security teams at the doors who have been instructed not to let them in? Personally, my advice to these politicians would be to shut up and lay low. If they are being denied access to a public building, they are already under suspicion and probably investigation. So go to your parties. Diddy's place is closed, I hope. And lay low because you are acting really guilty of something. It's important to know that this wasn't some last-minute hiring at a local college. While the media was consumed with political theater, over 1,000 pre-vetted experts were being placed in offices in Washington, D.C. Think tanks created the plan. Cooperative efforts between veteran strategists and the brightest tech computer programmers and engineers created an algorithm that could scan computers in seconds, identifying fraudulent activity. Policies were created to train teams for rapid deployment, and previous administrative failures were analyzed. By Inauguration Day, each member stood ready with clear objectives, direct lines to support networks. The truth is that this wasn't just staffing. It was a battle plan decades in the making. Sunlight, as they say, is the best disinfectant. By shining a light on the dark world of government funding, we can help President Trump and everyone on his team to create a future of prosperity for not just the United States, but for countries across the world. Corruption in all its forms comes at a steep price. It erodes public trust, undermines the rule of law, and diverts resources away from essential services. When it comes to the funding of gender ideology initiatives, the costs of corruption are particularly acute because every dollar wasted on ineffective or ideologically driven programs is a dollar that could have been spent on education, healthcare, infrastructure, or any number of other pressing needs. The costs of corruption extend beyond the financial. When citizens lose faith in their government's ability to act in their best interests, it undermines the very fabric of our democracy. It creates a climate of fear and suspicion, where people are less likely to participate in civic life or hold their leaders accountable. Addressing corruption is not just about punishing wrongdoers. It's about creating a system where corruption is less likely to occur in the first place. This requires a commitment to transparency, accountability, and a government that is truly responsive to the needs of the people it serves. That is what we have in President Trump for the first time in decades. Operation Gold Pill was in the 90s. How bad do you think it has gotten now? I'll give you a hint. The word is that we were being defrauded approximately $1 million per day until Doge shut them down. Got that, guys? $1 million a day. This is not Izzo and his little scheme that netted millions. This is the industrial government system, which has trillions of dollars to play the game with. The offenders are not just a bunch of Izzos. They are your elected leaders. The ones that you are paying, but somehow they have multi-million-dollar homes and trust funds for their kids on a civil servant salary. They are the people in charge of it all, and they have infiltrated all levels from legislation to administration. Knowing how many people were involved and the fact that only a small portion of the funds were in the benefit of the U.S., there is no need for such a large staff once the fraudulent grants and programs are stopped. These are sound business principles, and I don't know what makes people think that they are immune from layoffs or impeachments. Further, you'd have to be pretty high up in a Fortune 500 company to be offered 8-month severance, as the new administration has done. So far, there have been 65,000 people who decided that an 8-month vacation wasn't so bad, and the left is fighting to give them 7 months to decide. They will do anything they can do to impede this administration in giving us the means to heal. This is all part of draining the swamp, guys. We knew it was going to be difficult. Many have already suffered great losses, and I understand the loss of a great job is upsetting. But when we turn our minds to what the world will be like in 8 months, this will all be a memory. For those that have lost their jobs, apply to Space Force. They are looking for people in all capacities. Many opportunities will be available to all of us in the near future. Enjoy every moment of it and never forget what that freedom has cost us. If you like my channel, your shares, likes, and comments help so much. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications when I upload new videos. I'm thankful for you all, and I'm thankful that we are clearly transitioning into the golden age. For more information, I will link a video about the golden age at the end.